around these issues. So now is your time to ask these questions. Particularly interested in all of your views from your own different countries. If we need some extra time to translate some of the questions for those of you who don't have wonderful English, that's okay too. And if you need to talk and translate amongst each other, that's fine, just in case you're wondering what's going on with everyone discussing. So what I might do is start by asking the group for any feedback or any questions they had arising from the school visits that they went on today. So does anyone want to ask a question in relation to what they saw today on the school visits or give any feedback? Gia is from Iceland.
Yes. First of all, I just want to thank you for organizing the visit and the whole program here. It's been wonderful. It's excellent planning and execution and everything. Thank you for all this. You've learned a lot. I just wanted to ask about a little more about the process. What is mandatory in the process? Like, as you say, it's as you have said, it's very important. It's persons within the schools that are the key for the success. So is it? But it's not mandatory for active school, live school, to have a active school live team. There can be only one person within the school that is.
I think you do have to establish a committee at the start.
Yeah.
And you do have to have a leader. So I think we have always just said have a coordinator and two is better than one.
Yeah.
But I think based on Sarahjane's research, the leaflet and the print materials that we're doing for next year, we're now specifying schools under 150, one coordinator or more, schools 150 to 400, minimum two coordinators or more, schools 400 above, 3 coordinators, a teacher from a junior cycle class, middle cycle and senior cycle. So we saw that research a couple of weeks ago and we're working on our print material. So we're making it more specified because you get the really motivated teacher to come along and the danger always is that they don't start the process correctly and they don't spread the workload. So I think for next year we're planning 2 things. We're planning that breakdown of minimum number of, like it's a coordination team rather than a single individual. And I think what we'll also do at the 3 workshops, so we have one in September, November and March, is that we'll give the person who's present 6 slides that they must show at the next staff meeting. And those slides, we'll phrase them so that they speak to the staff for what the teacher might not be able to say themselves. So that's, I don't know if that's answering your question, but the coordination team is key. A lot of schools do it correctly and spread the load and have a huge amount of input. But I suppose we need to better support the schools where maybe it's the new young teacher that's told to do it and they're not established. And I don't know,
I think we have, in our own school, we have 2 main coordinators, but then we would kind of have a sub-team that would maybe take care of after-school activities. So, but I definitely think you would need at least 2 very strong teachers that would manage it. And we're very lucky that we do in our school, and they're extremely organised, and we'll give feedback at staff meetings. We'll give feedback on a weekly basis as well, what's coming up, what activities they have planned, and our own committee, the children committee as well. I think that's really important and the children themselves will nominate in the classroom who they think would be the best child from the class to go on the committee, and some child that it varies. There will be really sporty children that obviously, well, oh, he's really good at the football team, he should be on the committee. Or it could be another child that wouldn't be that sporty but will be very popular within the class and will be a good leader. So I think in terms of picking your committee, your staff committee and also the children, it's really important that they are strong leaders within the school.
That's very useful.
In the school we were in this morning, one of the things they do is they put the active school flag on the agenda of every meeting. So it's one of those items that must be discussed when all staff are present. And because it's on the agenda of every staff meeting, it gives the opportunity for all staff to be reminded, I guess, and add or discuss or whatever. So it's adding on to the other things that are said here, but it's a good thing to have it on the agenda of every meeting.
Could I ask a question just about the role of school principals and where the leadership needs to come from? Does it need to come from the principal, or could it come from other teachers, or ideally both? But
I think the principal definitely has to buy into it as well, and they need to. Obviously their committee will drive it, but the principal needs to be seen to be getting involved. And our own principal is fantastic, because if there is any activities, we do our wake-up, shake-up in the morning. She will be doing the wake-up, shake-up with the children as well. And that she's very enthusiastic about it and will do her best to promote it and encourage the children. And she will basically organise, if the children are coming in, we have our run a mile in the morning, so the children will be coming in maybe at 8 o'clock in the morning, and school does not begin until 8:50. But she will organise that to make sure that the parents can come in and watch as well, and the supervision and all those things that have to happen, all the extra things of the supervision. And if the principal isn't buying into it, I don't think it can really work efficiently in the school.
And I think like a quarter of the process is the PE curriculum, and the person in the school who has the authority to make teachers deliver it correctly is the principal. So it's a support to the principal who wishes to strengthen an area of the curriculum, and I think they need to be the person that leads that part of the process to the staff, because how can a colleague come up and say we need to improve our PE? It's the job of the principal. I think also the whole fun and atmosphere in the school can change, so teachers need to feel comfortable that if they're doing Go Noodle, that the principal and everybody else understands the children are just taking a break. It's not wasting time, it's not a party. They've lost their concentration and the teacher is using this method to regain it. Or they're out running, and it's not that the teacher's being lazy on a particular afternoon, it's that they're doing the regain of focus and concentration. So I think that the PE section in particular has to be led by the principal, or the coordinator has to be heavily supported. And then I think the just giving approval and permission for all the other bits to take place in the full knowledge that it's to the benefit of the teaching and learning environment. And I don't think we've had a huge difficulty in getting principals to buy into the process. So when the teacher comes to the information evening in September, like, they leave with our advice that if everybody is not on board, do not register your school. So if they go back and the principal isn't on board, or the staff are like, no, then our strong advice is don't do it. And because it's not a whole school process, it's not sustainable, and because we feel so passionately about it, and the accreditors that go out, we're not willing just to give a flag to a school because they sent in an application for it. We're just not. But I don't think we haven't had huge difficulty, I don't think, with principals, because generally if the schools don't buy in, then they're not engaging with us, you know.
I agree totally. One of the things we're doing in next year is that we're attending the principals conference, and we're going to have a stand, and we're going to be outlining to principals all about the programme. Normally there's 1,100 principals at this event, so we will have an opportunity to do that. But I agree with Karen. I think mostly principals will see this as a good thing. I think as a principal myself, often the issue is you're going to staff, they don't want to do it for you. If staff are coming to you when they want to do something, it's so much easier, and it's a breath of fresh air for principals to have that. But I do agree that it can't be done without them, because other things can happen, like the coordinator could leave the school and get promoted to another school. Then if the principal isn't behind it, will he or she get a replacement to do it? So there's all the other logistics as well. I would agree.
And I think we have the website element of it now since 2 years, but this year in particular, we're quite demanding. You need to put on your website what you're doing, and that gives transparency to the process, and it showcases, you know. And I suppose that's really important, that it is showcasing the work. But a website will need the principal to either invest or to give access to the website, so that definitely can't happen. And it's the public face of the school, so the principal has to be very confident
colleagues, would you like to share with us what you feel is different in schools in Ireland from schools in Italy?
Yes. We also apologize if we socialized before in a group and exchanged ideas because we needed to exchange impressions and views about what we saw in the morning. One of the main problems, as you can easily see from what we said yesterday, is that we have a very large school. And every time we try to introduce some new ideas, we have to bear in mind the fact that the population is very large. So what we probably try to do is starting with pilot experience within the schools. We here have 2 schools, as we said, which started the process about writing and making policies for well-being and health promotion within the school. This could be a very effective project to start in these 2 schools at the beginning, and then we'll see what happens. But I totally agree with you when you say that the involvement of the principals are just key to the project, because if they do not understand and if they do not believe in the values of the activities, it's just impossible to carry on the project. So that's what we were saying just a second ago, because we need to bring back what we saw here, and also and try to convince them to start from a few classes in their schools, and then we'll see. One more critical problem which I can foresee is the language, because we can translate questionnaires, we can translate the written material, but videos are in English, and websites are in English. So in primary school, English is taught, but teachers do not have a high level of competence in English. So this is also something we should take care of, because it could also be good for those teachers who teach English. They can use the same material for the language and for the movement. But that means that we need a big effort, because even from the beginning we have to involve more teachers. I don't know what the situation is in Lithuania about foreign language would be.
Absolutely the same, because we also, I think we will face the same language barrier.
And are the schools in Lithuania, they're big schools as well?
Yes, usually they are big.
Okay, so what you're saying is maybe you need to start in just a small number of classes within those schools, and then
I think it's important as well that you start small, because it is a process, and when you're going to visiting schools today, you will have seen so many different activities, and it's impossible to have us begin doing all of these activities at the one time. So start small and build on the process, because it does take time, and I think in order for it to continue and for the longevity of the process, you do have to start small and build on it each year. And that's why I think that it's so successful in our own school, and that every activity that we have embraced, it continues year on year on year. It's not just for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And anybody that comes in and visits the school, they can see that straight away, because the children will drop everything and they'll do their go noodle or their wake up, shake up, and then get back to their activities straight away, because it happens every day. It's not just something that happens a couple of weeks a year, and I think that's really important.
And I think for that reason, we haven't put a time limit on it. So, there are some initiatives and you sign up by this day and you have to submit by this day. But for us, the school needs whatever time the school needs. So our advice is always, start with something, wait until it's embedded, and then move on to something new. So rather than doing 5 things at once, just to start with one. So it could be the whole school does run around Europe during October. So the whole school is working on that, but that's the single focus. And then leave that and do something else.
And just to add, I think one of the things we learned this morning, I think, from the principal in St. Bridget's, how the whole school chooses one area to focus on as a block for maybe 2 months. So they might focus on gymnastics only for as part of P curriculum for 2 months, and every teacher in that school focuses on that topic for the 2 months, and then they move on to something else like dancing for the next 2 months. So it means
as well. We structure it at the whole school. If there's dance, then it's the whole school that we're working on dance for the month. If it's gymnastics, it's the whole school. So you can see the progression from class to class. And especially even with gymnastics equipment, when you're setting it all up, that it's there for everybody to use at the one time, and it makes it easier. And because of time pressure and the curriculum as well, this is that we try to make it as easy as possible for teachers to embrace it.
Question here.
Yes, I wanted only to say this, that I saw a wonderful, amazing school, and beyond the director, the principal, I think that it's very important. I noticed this. It's very important the building of the sense of community and the feeling of community and the feeling of belonging to this project that is where there are also parents, and there is a strong feeling of belonging to this community. They were very proud to be all together to gain the goals. This is another aspect, very important aspect. And also there were different kinds of activities to build this feeling of belonging. For example, the importance of ethic, of values, the feeling of community, and the song, and a lot of things together. This is another important aspect. Then I think also the feeling of inclusion that I saw in this school, and also we have to remember that one of our goals in Italian school is now to improve learning abilities of the students, and how we try to convince and to reflect how we can convince that this work, this kind of work, this methodology can help to improve these abilities. And so it's very important effective research, the positive effect on cognitive functions and success of everybody in the school. This is a challenge for our schools.
An important selling point in terms of the engagement, and I think that goes back to the motivating factors that you had talked about.
It does, and the perceived benefits. So the teachers certainly feel, or they think, that it does have a benefit, both in terms of children's behaviour in the classroom and also in terms of their attention, and both of which would feed into academic achievement. But and there is plenty of evidence internationally that suggests that increased physical activity, increased fitness, increased academic performance, but you still need to show it, I suppose, to try and prove it. I mean, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence now for attendance, that active school flag actually boosts the attendance at a school. That in itself will boost academic achievement. So there are many ways, I think, to look at it in terms of trying to sell that.
And I think in terms of the inclusion and the sense of community, like our message is always make it fun and make it non-competitive, and please let the teacher join in. And that changes things. And the website brings parents in. They they know what's happening. Active Week brings the parents in, they know what's happening. And then beyond that, schools will work with parents in different ways. Because parents are a huge resource to a school in this area, but an underutilised resource. You know, so I don't know, maybe if that's something.
Yeah, well, when we were doing our run a mile in the morning, we did encourage parents to come in and join, and some did, but not as many as you would like. But that's just life in general, that they're busy going to work, and we would always encourage them to take part in any activities. And just as you mentioned, our active school week, if you asked any child in our school what is your favourite time of the year, they will all say active school week. And especially we have our spring Olympics on a particular day where they're doing activities all day long, and it is the highlight of the year for them. They just absolutely adore it, and it's the parents who talk about it as well, and it generates such enthusiasm and love for the getting active in school.
And I think, I'm just thinking of, because your school is really good on Twitter, so for your colleagues whose English isn't so strong, Twitter is a really good way to see what Irish schools are doing, because they tweet us and we retweet, and the language is minimal, and normally there's a video or a photograph, and that does the speaking. So maybe encouraging them to watch Twitter rather than to go through the whole website.
And just one other thing that we came across on our site visit this morning, I think it was Gia, you had mentioned it, we found information on many more resources and links to some websites that they felt very useful, that they can get ideas around different games for each part of the curriculum that they can access. So maybe that they may not have been aware of that already. So there are websites out there that they can download resources from without having to make it up themselves.
Oh yeah.
And I think we're going to get that presentation this morning, and they're going to add in extra websites